Guys, Valentine's Day is coming up and it's time to elevate your romantic side. Don't worry, Uncle Chael is here to help. Go check out underluckystars.com. They make beautiful star maps showing the unique alignment of the stars during a place and time chosen by you. Birthday, engagement, wedding, a first kiss. It's an incredible gift to signify an important moment in your life. All you need to do is enter the time and location of your special moment, and you'll receive a beautiful archival print on museum quality thick matte art paper showing the exact constellation of the stars that were above you during that special moment in time. These maps are gorgeous, and this special gift will last for generations. Under Lucky Stars is the original star map maker, and their proprietary star mapping method is verified by NASA astrophysicists to ensure their accuracy. Visit underluckystars.com/Chael. That'll get you a 10% discount with code Chael, or just click on the link below. Have we ever seen a heavyweight like Jon Jones? I was asked this question, I'm repeating it. No. No, the answer is real simple. No, we haven't seen one. So, if Jon's going to come back and Jon's going to take on Stipe, right? I mean, one real exciting thing for the people that wanted Jon to come into heavyweight, the most exciting part of that, why everybody wanted, why people were begging Jon to do it, is because they wanted to see Jon lose. They would beg him right to his face. His own people would go on social media, come on, Jon, come on. But what they really meant is, I don't think you can do this, and I've seen you do everything else. I haven't seen you lose. That's the one I want to see. Now, Jon doesn't understand that, and that's fine. Doesn't really have anything to do with the story. It comes back to the original question of, have we ever seen a heavyweight like Jon Jones? No. Jon is way too dynamic. We've never even seen a light heavyweight like Jon Jones, right? The smaller you get, the better you are. And that doesn't mean the 25-pounder can beat the 85-pounder. It just means he's better. He knows more. He's more dynamic. He's going to move better and faster. He's going to have a higher pace. He's not going to have the size to beat him, but he's better. And we know this to be true. Which means if you get to heavyweight, you are now in the easiest weight class in terms of skill. Not putting down the heavyweights, but in terms of skill, you need less skill at heavyweight. It's another reason we never see guys that are cutting down to the heavyweight limit. We don't even see that in boxing. Aside from Brock Lesnar in our sport, Tyson Fury in the world of boxing. So I get that they've got the sitting king, but if you take Tyson Fury out of that, you're not going to find me anybody in history that tipped the limit. Because the bigger you go, the worse you are at sport. Okay. So now we've got a light heavyweight who many say is the greatest of all time. Not just greatest light heavyweight. Many have Jon Jones as just the all-time greatest. So when you have a light heavyweight like that moves into the heavyweight class, you've now got a guy that can do all the skills to the point that some people say he's the best ever into the weight class that we all agree is not. Skill for skill, the best. No, we haven't seen anybody like Jon. And that does make things real interesting. Because again, to everybody, whether you were fainting support of Jon or you were the hater of Jon, everybody that encouraged Jon to go to heavyweight wanted to see him lose. And they just all thought the size alone will be the intangible and make up the difference. But now as you get Jon and Stipe is upon us, Jon is going to weigh in heavier than Stipe. So that discussion is out the door. So as you do look at Stipe specifically, but you can also juxtapose any heavyweight you want. Let's keep it on Stipe, but the question is a little bit broader. What is it that somebody at heavyweight is going to bring or possess that Jon Jones hasn't seen before? Because if Jon's seen it, we know Jon can deal with it because he's never lost, right? He's never been dominated for, oh, God, that was a bad second round, but he won the other two or three. And Jon kicks everybody's ass. So what is it we're going to see at heavyweight? And the big thing that we always thought we were going to see is a bigger guy. A bigger guy that when he connects with Jon, and he will at some point, is going to possess a power that Jon hasn't experienced before, take him off his feet, put him down, and off we go. And that narrative really got built easily when we thought it was going to be Jon versus Francis, because now Francis has everything that we wanted to see Jon have to deal with. Heavyweight, skill, championship, 5 rounds, power in his hands, everything that we think it's going to take to see what we haven't seen before, which is to Jon Jones to get carried out and have the silver medal around his neck. Francis possessed, but as you start to change that, and now we're down to Stipe. Stipe's amongst the 3 lightest heavyweight champions in UFC history. We now don't have that, but something tells me when the line comes out, it's going to be pretty close. It's going to favor Jones, but it's going to be pretty close. And I also think that it should be. MMA math, people love to say, oh, MMA math doesn't work. Okay, but it's a good starting point. Common opponents is a very good starting point. Jon Jones had hard fights with Daniel Cormier. I can see they weren't overly close, but they were hard. He was sweating, he was working, he was trying, he's having to deal with the bear coming at him the entire time. Daniel, Stipe traded. Stipe even took Daniel down one time. Stipe did an excellent job, particularly in fight number 3, of stopping Daniel from taking him down. So Stipe is showing some stuff because you have to start with that. You want to find somebody to beat Jon. We've all but given up, and we've hung our hat on the argument that somebody out there is too damn big. We just got to lure Jon into getting in there with the guy. Okay, there's not a ton of fights in history that you can show me that. I've never seen a card coming up where somebody doesn't go, well, he's got a puncher's chance. I hear that all the time, but you could count on one hand how many times a puncher's chance has ever worked out. And you can bring big fight. You could go back to George Foreman and Michael Moore. You could go back. There's plenty of big fights. You go back to Tim Sylvia and Rico Rodriguez. There's plenty of big fights. But you're still stuck on one hand, and that's bringing boxing and MMA into it. The better fighter wins. Broad stroke, not exact. But we always have to hear about this. So now that we're taking that away, and it looks like we're going to deal with Stipe Miocic, where Jon will be the closest guy to Stipe's size that Stipe has faced in a meaningful period of time, but Stipe will be lighter than anybody Jon's faced, at least in comparison. Jon gets on the scale at 205. He gets in the ring at 215. His opponent gets on the scale at 205, gets in the ring at 215. They're dead even. Jon's never had a 10-pound weight advantage over anybody he's ever fought. Jon will have 10 pounds on Stipe. So now the entire argument and premise that we thought we had, not only do we not have, it's the other way. But it's still going to go off as a closer fight. Why? How come? Is it the MMA math? That's probably a good starting point. Is it because it's a division Jon hasn't been in? Is it because Jon's been out for a period of time? I like those things if you're making an argument to a deficit to Jon Jones. He's at a new gym. He's got a new team. Blah, blah, blah. I get all of those things. I don't know where the advantage comes over Stipe. Stipe is not at a new gym, but Stipe has been out for a period of time. Stipe's even been out of the media. Now, I know Stipe well enough to know he is working his ass off every day. I trust that, but I can't prove it. I don't have confirmation. Stipe's a private guy. Go to his social media and think you're going to see his training. That's just not Stipe. So what if I'm wrong? What if in the last year since Stipe's been in there, what if he has been sitting around? What if he, for the first time ever, is going to sign a contract and go put in that 8 or 12-week training camp, right? I mean, then you just don't have the advantage. If Stipe's active, Stipe's busy, and Stipe did say one thing. I wish Stipe would talk more. I don't think Stipe understands we're interested in him. He doesn't understand that, or he doesn't give a damn. One of the last things that Stipe Miocic ever said is that he learned a lesson in that fight with Francis Ngannou, and that he's going to put on 20 pounds himself. Stipe Miocic weighing 252 as opposed to 232 is a totally different animal. Guys, this just got tested in the world of amateur wrestling. We had a heavyweight gopher out of Minnesota. Damn good wrestler. That's where it ends. Damn good wrestler. Gable Steveson. Gable focuses on nothing but getting stronger. He gets up to the heavyweight limit. He looks fantastic. He becomes the Olympic champion, and on the process to being the Olympic champion, he had the defending Olympic champion, and he teched the guy in the semifinals. He went from damn good, he was really good, to the best on earth, and nobody was even close, and he did it just by changing his physiology. I get that there was other things, but that was the number one thing you could point to, that Gable said, this is what I'm going to do. 1 year later, he had achieved it, and his results were catastrophic domination. He finished the Olympic gold medalist. Bring that to you because Stipe did run into that problem with Francis. I was not convinced in watching Stipe versus Francis Part 2 that Francis was a better fighter. The right guy won. He won, but I wasn't convinced he was better. I didn't see enough. I saw one good scramble where Francis got his hips back and pummeled in, which showed a real evolution from the first time they fought. Landed a punch, but Stipe landed punches. Stipe landed a hard punch. Francis landed a harder punch. Francis can take a harder punch because of his size. Stipe cannot because of his size. I wasn't convinced I saw who was better. So when Stipe came out, and I did think it was going to be Stipe Francis Part 3. I still think if we get the whole world back on track here and everybody decides they want to be a competitor again, that we are going to see that fight. And Stipe instantly started making changes. I want to know how he did. I want to know how that progression's been. I don't know. I don't really feel like texting Stipe's old lady and go, what does Stipe weigh? I don't know that she'd know. My wife couldn't answer that quote. I think I go get on the scale. I mean, I don't know if I can ask anyone that question. Stipe will tell us. Stipe will tell us the truth. And if Stipe has succeeded, if he buckled down, if he basically has been mirroring Jon Jones, which is a full focus on calories in, calories out, heavy weight on the bar, getting that size on, and he succeeds at his goal, which he set at 20 pounds, that puts him at 252 to 256. Stipe at 256 versus Jon Jones at 240. Guys, we're having a totally different conversation. Those are the right guys to fight. That fight is being worked on. We're going to see that fight. But to look forward to it and be able to pick somebody, particularly when our number one motivation is to see Jon Jones get beat, which I think is very fun for Jon as well. Jon has lived in a life of pressure. You're the best. Nobody should be able to go close with you. You went 5 rounds. You disappoint us, right? That's not fair. Whether Jon went close fights or not, whether Jon had split decisions or not, Jon won. That should be all he has to do to get a pat on the back, but it's different. He's held into a different standard because he's so good. So to get that back, to keep that pressure off Jon, to keep the hope alive for the audience, to do a wonderful night of business, if Stipe Miocic weighs 252 pounds, I encourage Stipe, let us know. Text Stipe's wife. How much does Stipe weigh? Question mark.